I'd like to ask that we all rise. Kobo honor guard present the colors.
Forward. Arms. Forward. March. Left. 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 Right. 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 Left. Colors. Hold. Left. Face. Free. Zen. Colors.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Forward. Arms. Right. Face. Forward. March. Left. 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 Right. 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 Left. Left.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone to our January meeting, February meeting. The first item on our agenda is litigation in the matter concerning the Shirley Harris versus Lafayette Parish School Board. We get the motion to go into session.
So moved that the board go into executive session for discussion or action concerning pending litigation in the matter of Shirley Harris versus Lafayette Parish School Board et al., docket number 2019-4218 D, 15th Judicial District Court, Parish of Lafayette, State of Louisiana.
Second.
Motion and a second, go to executive session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. We'll go to executive session.
Mr. President, I move that we return to regular session.
Motion and a second that we return to regular session. Any public comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move that the
Yes.
board accept the advice of counsel.
Second.
Motion and a second that the board accept the advice of our counsel. Any public comment? Any comments from the board? If there's no other comments, I'll call for the vote.
Eight for, none against.
All right, motion carries. I recognize Mr. Centini again. Sir.
Mr. President, I move that the board enter into executive session to discuss strategy regarding a prospective litigation matter in light of formal written demand made by Julie LaGrange relative to her workers' compensation claim.
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we have any comments from the public? Any comments from the board? If not, we'll vote.
Oh, we voice vote on that? I thought we voice vote on that.
Yeah. We'll just do a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed likewise. Motion carries. Back in executive session.
Mr. President, I move that we return to regular session.
Second. Turn to the regular session. All those in favor, any public comment? Any board member comment? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Mr. Centini?
Mr. President, I move that the board accept the advice of the third-party administrator.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Centini that we accept the advice of the attorney, seconded by Ms. Morrison. Any public comment? Any comments from members of the board? In that case, I'll call for the vote.
Ms. Dorothy, my computer has locked up and I'm restarting it. Would you record my vote as yes, please?
Eight for, none against.
Motion carries. I would like to digress, if I may, and offer my apologies to our superintendent and offer her your remarks.
Thank you, President Angel. Good evening, everyone. LPSS students recently participated in the 2021-22 Winter Arts Competition, and I want to thank everyone who submitted such beautiful artwork. I invite everyone to view the talented artwork of our students that is exhibited in the central office right outside of the boardroom. Congratulations to 6th graders Kel Marceau and Kenya Taylor of L.J. Alamo Fine Arts Magnet Academy, whose design was selected as the Art Expo poster winner. I also want to recognize the following students. Elementary School, 3rd place, Paige Richard, 5th grader at J.W. Falk Elementary. 2nd place, Aiden Smith, 5th grader at J. Wallace James. 1st place, an LSBA exhibit, Avery Broussard, 5th grader at J. Wallace James Elementary School. Middle School, 3rd place, Sophie Tevino, Creole Chaos, 8th graders at Broussard Middle School. 2nd place, Annie Jacoba, 7th grader at Scott Middle School. And 1st place, an LSBA exhibit, Lillian Eidhammer, 8th grader at L.J. Alamo Fine Arts Magnet Academy. And at the high school level, congratulations to 3rd place, Caden Lazane, 11th grader at Southside High School. 2nd place, Autumn Hicks, 12th grader at Lafayette High School. 1st place, an LSBA exhibit, Paige Sias, 12th grader at Lafayette High School. I also want to congratulate this evening our 2022 Students of the Year. At the elementary level, Adeline Hoffpower, Myrtle Place Elementary School, 5th grade. At the middle school level, Lincoln Trumps, Paul Bro, Middle School, 8th grade. And at the high school level, Averill Orm, Early College Academy, 12th grade. The finalists selected will move on to represent the Lafayette Parish school system at the regional level of competition. A ribbon-cutting ceremony was held last month to unveil the construction of a new covered public transportation bus stop in front of Lafayette High School facing Congress Street. This covered bus stop features solar lights, a seating area, and a charging station for electronic devices. This project is a collaboration between the Lafayette Parish School System and Lafayette Consolidated Government. As a reminder, LPSS students with a valid ID are able to ride the Lafayette City bus free of charge. This can help students participate or attend extracurricular activities, as well as provide transportation to and from work. Mr. President, that concludes my comments this evening.
Thank you very much. And let me remind you all here that in May, we'll have a special meeting and we will recognize our outstanding students and teachers and employees of this great system. More coming on that later. Moving on to information items, 3.1, job description reflecting certified and degreed administrative pay scales. Ms. Gordon, Ms. Strosler, anybody?
Good evening to the board. This agenda item is for information purposes. The pay scale was passed, and when the pay scale was passed, we said we would bring back the job descriptions updated so that it reflects the previous item that the board has passed. So that is the purpose for listing these job descriptions on the agenda.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Muto. Item 3.2, monthly facilities update. Mr. Bordelon?
Good evening, members of the board. Kyle Bordelon, Director of Planning and Facilities. Included in your packet is the monthly facilities update for construction projects. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those at this time.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bordelon, the ROTC building at Acadiana, they said they were waiting on one final punch list item, the architect maybe, before they could move in. Has that taken place?
I believe that has taken place. The internet is up and running in that building now, and the custodians are scheduled. I talked to the principal today. The custodians are scheduled to wax the floors this weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. LeBouf?
Mr. Bordelon, when I was at LJ Alamo, PBA, we raised enough money for a track, and I think the track was not ever put in place because of the new wing that was put on. Now that we've removed the buildings and the wings done, is that going to move forward? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
Ms. Morrison?
Yes, Mr. Bordelon, we kind of briefly talked about it, but can you tell us the status of the overhang at Dusson Elementary?
Yes, ma'am. I met earlier this week with the architect for the walkway covers for Dusson, S.J. Montgomery, Dusson, S.J. Montgomery. There's 4 projects.
Jay Wallace.
Jay Wallace James, and there's 4. But I met with him. He's got the plans nearly finalized. He does have to submit them for approval, some other approvals, but they should be coming out for bids very shortly.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Mason?
Thank you. Mr. Bordelon, in your pictures here on our report, there is a retention pond being installed at LJ Alamo.
Yes.
How big is that pond going to be?
It is a retention area. It'd be more like a depression in the ground. My understanding, it's only going to be about around 16 to 18 inches deep, and it's going to look more like just a depressed area in the ground. It was required of us by city parish government, as would you see with a lot of construction around town where they have retention areas. So that's why we had to move out those, get those 4 portable buildings demolished, because that's the area where this retention area is going to be.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Lecter.
Not necessarily for Mr. Bordelon, but maybe for staff. Whenever we do the ribbon cutting for the ROTC buildings, could we make a note to invite former board member Eric Konezik, who had,
Yes, sir.
this was his baby, so I'd like for Eric to be there, that we remember to invite him. Thank you.
All right, item 3. Any other comments? Yes, ma'am. Ms. LeBouf?
Mr. Dugas, the time period for the fixtures and everything for the ROTC buildings, do we know the timeline for that? I know that they've gotten the quotes and want to get them ordered, but will those be ready? I know the buildings are 98% complete, but will the furniture and fixtures be coming in?
I don't have the answer to that. It's going to depend on where the furniture is coming from, if it's available in stock. Are we buying that off a state contract?
That would be my intention, yes.
Okay. I don't have an answer for you.
There are supply chain issues, as you know. Perhaps we can discuss that with with our purchasing department and see. Partially, we don't know till we don't know. what is available, what isn't available until it doesn't come in, or it takes a long time to come in. But I'm not aware of the current status.
Ms. LeBou, we'll get your answer to that and to the question about the track at Alamo, and we'll be back in touch with you tomorrow. Okay?
No other questions? Maybe, Mr. Bordelon, you could stay up there for item 3.4, list of bids to be advertised by the superintendent? Or Mr. Dugas, I don't know.
That's just an information item. Are there any questions?
None. All right, item 3.5, employee services. I'm sorry, 3.4, a notice of election date to present the renewal of a emphasize renewal of a 17.88 mil ad valorem tax and related announcement. Mr. Centeni?
Thank you, Mr. President. Announcement of public meeting. Notice is hereby given that at its meeting to be held on Wednesday, March 9th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. at its regular meeting place, the boardroom of the administrative building, 113 Chaplin Drive, Lafayette, Louisiana. The Parish School Board of the Parish of Lafayette, State of Louisiana, plans to consider adopting a resolution ordering and calling an election to be held in Consolidated School District Number 1 of the Parish of Lafayette, State of Louisiana, to authorize the continuation of an ad valorem tax therein. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, you're welcome, sir. Item 3.5, employee services, personnel changes. Mr. Mouton?
Good evening again to Superintendent Trosclair and the board. I have the pleasure of introducing 4 new assistant principals this evening. First up is Miss Alexis Rack, and she is the new assistant principal at Acadian Middle School. Ms. Rack has 8 years of experience in the field of education. She holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in Interdisciplinary Studies and Chemistry from Mississippi State University and a Master's of Arts degree in Education from the University of Phoenix in Tempe, Arizona. She has taught science and served as a department head at B. Edward Boudreaux Middle School in Baldwin, Louisiana. She has been a teacher and a teacher leader at Franklin Senior High School in Franklin, Louisiana. And most recently, she served as assistant principal at Morgan City Junior High School in Morgan City, Louisiana. She has also coached boys and girls basketball, girls track, and mentored fellow teachers at each school she has worked. Ms. Rack believes that she possesses the skills needed as an assistant principal to reach Acadian Middle School's goal, which is to ensure a safe learning environment, provide quality education for all, and seek to instill high standards of integrity, leadership, and citizenship. Ms. Alexis Rack, assistant principal at Acadian Middle.
Thank you, Mr. Mouton. Good evening, Superintendent Trosclair, Board President Angel, other board members, district members, and guests assembled. Thank you for the opportunity to serve as the assistant principal at Acadian Middle School under the leadership of Principal White. I appreciate the support of the administration, faculty, staff, students, and parents through the guidance of district leaders such as Ms. Hippolyte, Dr. Fagan-Bush, and others as we work towards building strength, tradition, and excellence at our school. Besides physically moving out of St. Mary Parish, I'm excited about my move to Acadian Middle, where my goal is to create successful teamwork, communication, and trust while building on excellent programs in place, acquisition of new programs, innovative techniques with positive outcomes in education and discipline, all with respect. Margaret Edelman said, and I quote, "Education is for improving the lives of others and for leaving your community and world a better place than you found it." This is my challenge. Thank you all for the opportunity.
Up next is Miss Bonnie Derwan, and she is the new assistant principal at Paul Breaux Middle School.
Ms. Derwan has 13 years of experience in the field of education. She holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in Secondary English and Speech Education from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, and a Master of Education in Educational Leadership from Arizona State University. She has taught middle school English at Renee Rost Middle School, Jeanerette Middle School, and Prescott Middle School. She has taught high school English and speech, and she has been a speech coach at Turlings Catholic High School. She has worked as a career counselor, business occupations instructor for Fletcher Technical Community College, an adult education transitions coordinator, and a high school connections and exiting pathways English teacher at Northside High School. Most recently, she served as the instructional leader at Northside High. Ms. Derwan's goal as part of the Northside High administration is to bridge the gap between middle and high school learning, increase student academic performance, and create a culture and climate of family and community. Ms. Bonnie Derwan, new assistant principal at Paul Breaux Middle School.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Superintendent Trosclair, President Angel, and board members for the opportunity to join Paul Breaux's family as the assistant principal. I would like to thank Ms. Rayburn for having the confidence in my ability to become a member of her team. Also, thank you to my family for their support in this new career venture. I look forward to working with my new family to continue growing academically and preparing students for social, emotional, and academic success. Thank you again for becoming a Tiger.
Next up, we have Ms. Chandra Traxler, and she is the new assistant principal at La Rosen Preparatory Academy. Ms. Traxler has 15 years of experience in the field of education. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and Marketing from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, and a Master of Science in Educational Leadership from Western Governors University in Salt Lake City, Utah. She has taught 6th grade math and science at Crowley Middle School, 7th and 8th grade math and science at Breaux Bridge Junior High School, 3rd grade at Leonville Elementary, 1st and 3rd grades at J.W. Falk Elementary, and 1st and 2nd grades at Charles Burke Elementary. Ms. Traxler looks forward to continuing to work with the administration, faculty, and staff of La Rosen Prep to facilitate a safe environment with high-quality curriculum which will prepare her students to be productive citizens of society. Ms. Chandra Traxler, Assistant Principal at La Rosen Preparatory Academy.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Ms. Trosclair and the board for giving me an opportunity to serve in this position. My goal at La Rosen is to build relationships so students know that I'm invested in their future, not only in education, but as members of our society and community. My goal is to make sure that they're successful in the classroom and in the workforce in the future. Thank you for the opportunity.
And Ms. Stephanie Guidry, she's the new assistant principal at Southside High School. Ms. Guidry has 18 years of experience in the field of education. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in microbiology and a minor in chemistry from the University of Southwestern Louisiana, and a Bachelor's of Science degree in secondary science education from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, and a Master's of Education in Educational Leadership from the American College of Education. She has taught physical science at Como High School, biology 2, chemistry, and physical science at Acadiana High School, and biology 2 and physical science at Southside High School. She has coached girls soccer, the swim team, and the golf teams at various schools. Over much of her career, Ms. Guidry has collaborated with teachers and administrators to develop a positive learning environment where students feel supported and are able to work toward their greatest potential, and she looks forward to continuing this trend at Southside High School. Ms. Stephanie Guidry, Assistant Principal at Southside High.
Good evening. I'd like to thank Ms. Trosclair, the board president, and board members for the acknowledgement this evening. and I am very appreciative of the opportunity to serve as one of the assistant principals at Southside High School. I am so humbled to have been selected to this position, where I get to share in the responsibility of creating a fantastic learning environment for the students of Southside. And throughout my years in education, I'm very grateful to have worked alongside so many dedicated educational leaders that have facilitated my personal and professional growth and have motivated me to strive for my greatest potential. And as an administrator at Southside, I hope to inspire the same in our students while I serve the families and the staff and the students of our school. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I hardly ever speak on behalf of the entire board, but I feel comfortable that I can do so at this point in wishing all four of you our very best. We wish you the best. Also, I want to point out that something I've been saying for 40 years and been in politics, that oftentimes some of the better speeches are not necessarily the most lengthy speeches. And y'all proved it tonight, and I appreciate that very much. 3.6, Administration Quarantine Guidelines, LDH update. I think Ms. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Angel. Yes, currently we are following the State of Louisiana Executive Department Proclamation number 6 JBE 2022, which is set to expire on February 16th, 2022. We currently follow Section 3D and use the decision tree chart for quarantining and close contact at this time. It is our understanding and confirmed that we should have some new data or some new decision-making guidance from the Louisiana Department of Health soon. We're just unsure when the date will be.
I'm sorry, my computer went off. Yes, Mrs. Lechley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for that information, Ms. Gardner. I had sent an email asking that this be put on the agenda this evening as an information item so that we could be a little bit more transparent with the public. I know we have a lot of frustrated parents, a lot of frustrated children with some of the quarantine measures that have been taking place, missing school. I've thought this should have been brought up before, but we've gone ahead and brought it up tonight as an information item, because as a seated board member, I was actually to the point in time where I was ready to take action and put an item on the agenda. We're going to wait and see what the Department of Health has got to say and what the governor has to say. We're elected officials, and I think it's time we take a little bit better control of education in this parish, because our children are suffering, in my mind. You take your junior class this year, the last time they had normalcy, they were freshmen in their first semester. I think in some ways we're failing. Has nothing to do with our faculty, staff, administration. I know these people have done everything humanly possible to try to educate our children, but we just have too many kids missing school for no reason. There's one child, I don't know his name, wouldn't say it, at a school I represent, has been sent home 3 times on quarantine since the Christmas break and never has had one symptom of anything, but because of the contact tracing and the so forth and so on was sent home, and this student wanted to be in school. So we're going to go ahead and wait and see what comes from the governor's mouth, but I have no problem asking or requesting the president to call a special board meeting so that this can actually hit the board floor of the Lafayette Parish School Board and try to do a better job of educating our children. Now, I don't mind my vote being known by the public and where I stand, but Ms. Gardner, thank you for the information. I hope this lets the public know a little bit of why and what was being done. And thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Centini.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Latchley, for saying that. I too wanted to, I've spoken to at least a handful of parents who have given me personal experiences with the quarantines and how often we've been sending children home. And, you know, I think it was all done with positive intent. You know, everyone had the best goals in mind. But from the beginning of this, Dr. Chasson is going to chuckle under his mask when I say I've always been interested in the effectiveness of any mitigation measure we put in place to keep our students and faculty safe. A lot of times, I think some people may think I'm a little too cavalier about this. I assure you I'm not. But the goal has always been safely, in person, in school. That's where learning happens. I think the test scores from last year bear that out, that we've done everything possible to give our children a chance to learn, to give our students a chance to be in school. But what we have here, to my mind, is an outdated model of preventing the spread of COVID-19 in our schools. It is based on rare exposure, when what we have seen as a parish, as a community, and everyone here understands this, we have seen full exposure over the last month and a half. It is everywhere. And so if we think that we are stopping the spread of COVID by sending children home when they get exposed, we're not preventing the spread. All we're doing is preventing learning because the children aren't in school. And so I'm here standing with Mr. Lachele, ready to come and put this on the board for whenever we're available, and I'll be paying attention to what the governor has to say tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Mason.
I just wanted to agree with Lachele and Centani and point out that these quarantine rules are applied differently for sports in the classroom, and it's unfair, and I'm very eager to hear what the governor decides.
Yes, ma'am. Any other comments? Dr. Aguilar.
I want to concur with the remarks that have been made. This has been frustrating to be placed in a situation where we have been powerless to change the recommendations from the health department and the mandate by the governor. So we really have to wait until the governor tells us what the next step is. And like my colleagues on the board, I am ready to meet in special session if necessary to change the necessary protocol so that we can get back to 100% normalcy as quickly as possible.
Any other comments? Thank you. All right, we will move on to our consent agenda, and I will begin by announcing item 4.1, discussion concerning Resolution 222-23, Black History Month.
I'll pull that.
All right. Ms. Mary Morrison pulls 4.1. 4.2, discussion on action concerning Resolution 222-2026, National Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month.
Pull it, please.
4.2. 4.3, discussion on action concerning Resolution number 2-22-2025 for an intergovernmental agreement between the Lafayette Parish School Board and the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government for the shared use of facilities. Item 4.4, academics, discussion or action concerning Acadiana High School Fieldhouse locker quotes. Item 4.5, Associate Superintendent, discussion and or action concerning Resolution 2-22-2024, National School Counseling Week.
I'll pull 4.5.
Pull full 4.5. 4.6, discussion or action concerning Resolution 222-2022, National Nutrition Month and National School Breakfast Week. 4.7, discussion or action concerning 2022-2023 Staff Allocation Formulas and Guidelines Booklet. 4.8, discussion or action concerning revisions to the custodian and or child nutrition services technical job description.
Pull it, please.
Pull 4.8. 4.9, discussion and or action concerning bids for J.W. Falk Elementary roof replacement. 4.10, discussion or action concerning quotes for Karen Crow Middle drop-off lane. 4.11, discussion or action concerning a construction manager at risk for the Truman Early Childhood Facility replacement. 4.12, discussion or action concerning budget revision to the self-construction fund for Acadiana High School gym bleachers replacement. 4.13, discussion and or action concerning the rejection of quotes for Southside High baseball, softball dugouts and bleachers. 4.14, discussion or action concerning budget revision to capital improvements fund for walkway cover projects. 4.15, discussion or action concerning budget revision to capital improvements fund. Wait, I lost. 4.15, discussion or action concerning sales tax collection report for December 2021. 4.16, discussion or action concerning budget to actual reports for January 2022. 4.17, discussion or action concerning grant fund summary for January 2022. 4.18, discussion and or action concerning updates and amendments to the sale of 113 Chaplin Drive. Pull 4.18. 4.19, discussion or action concerning advertising and accepting proposals, grant writing, and technical assistance services, RFP draft. 4.20, discussion or action concerning advertising and accepting proposals for grant evaluation services, RFP draft. 4.21, discussion or action concerning quotes for playground equipment for Broadmoor Elementary. 4.22, discussion or action concerning advertising and accepting proposals, Medicaid billing and electronic medical records services, RFP draft. 4.23, discussion concerning or action concerning a construction manager at risk for the new replacement of Prairie Elementary. 4.24, discussion or action concerning construction manager at risk for the new replacement of Karen Crow Heights Elementary. 4.25, discussion or action concerning the minutes of the January 12, 2022 and October 26, 21 meeting. Ms. Trusclair.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve all items not pulled.
Second.
Thank you very much. Before we vote on that, I would ask Ms. Vizay to give us a list of all of the items that were pulled.
Item 4.1, item 4.2, item 4.5, 4.8, 4.18.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nizay. At this time, we will entertain a motion to approve all items that were not pulled. Mr. Superintendent makes the motion.
Second.
Second.
And Ms. Morrison seconds. Do we have any public comment from the audience on all of those items that we did not pull?
Hi, wonderful school board. I'm Stephanie Skinner-Touchette, and I'm a concerned parent. I wanted to talk about 4.15. Well, no, first I want to talk about 4.6, School Nutrition Month. I've gone to the 4-H livestock show, and I've gone to a lot of the farmer markets in town, and I would very much like to utilize our farmers and our local produce, our organic produce, if we can, to keep our children healthy. Because I'm sure we have lots of good farmers here in Acadiana that can feed our children instead of bringing them in canned, genetically modified, unorganic, unhealthy food. So I was thinking maybe you could weigh that as an option, and we could really take care of our kids locally and rebuke the federal system and the federal government on all these things if we can. And I wanted to know also, with the sales tax thing, I think that'd be a great opportunity for you to maybe get on local media and local TV and talk about the sales tax and tell people, because we all pay taxes for the public school, and you could have a photo op and tell people that we can come to the meetings and talk about things that are going on that concern our children locally, because I want to come together as a community and really protect our kids. And so I thank you for talking about quarantine and isolation. So will the public have a chance to talk about that soon? Because you didn't call for a comment tonight on it. So I was wondering if you're going to bring it back up like you said. Mr. Latchley and Mr. Santana, y'all are going to bring it up after the governor talks?
Yeah, we'll have some comments if you wish.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right now?
No,
Or
ma'am.
you are wait to
Yeah,
wait
when it
until
comes up,
you're
yeah.
gonna, when are you going to bring it back up, sir? Okay, yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments on those items? Any items that we did not pull? All right. Hearing none, we'll go on to the first item that was pulled. I'm sorry, board comment. I'm sorry. Board comment. Any items not pulled? Yes, sir.
I'll tell Ms. Touchette that I'm happy to talk about taxes anytime, any place. Okay. Nobody else ever wants to talk to me about that, but I'll be happy to do so. And you'll have an opportunity to comment on quarantining should it come whenever we do have a meeting to review those items. Tonight was not an action item. Tonight was a discussion from the board's perspective, but there will be a meeting soon. I hope to address that.
Any other board comment? All right, we'll move on to 4.1, discussion or action concerning. I'm sorry. All those in favor of the motion? I'm sorry, I'll call for the vote.
Already voted.
Eight for, none against.
Okay, motion carried. 4.1, discussion or action concerning resolution 2-22-2023, Black History Month. Ms. Morrison?
Yes. I recommend that the board adopt resolution 02022-2023 recognizing Black History Month as attached in the public content section of this agenda, and I would like to read it, please.
Motion and a second. Any comments from the public? Ms. Mary, go ahead and read it.
Black History Month. Whereas the children of each community greatest resource, and whereas our idea as a nation has been and continues to be pluribus unum, out of many comes out, and whereas the Lafayette Parish School Board believes that students should be educated for life in a diverse society, and whereas the Lafayette Parish School Board strives to ensure educational equality for citizens, especially minority students, and whereas African Americans have made numerous and significant contributions to this nation and the world, and whereas February has been designated nationally as Black History Month to provide an opportunity for all Americans to deepen their understanding of the African American experience. Now therefore be it resolved that the Lafayette Parish School Board does hereby proclaim February 1st through February 28th, 2022 as Black History Month.
May I assume that was a motion that we adopt that? Okay, we have a second. Okay. Any comment from the public? Any other comments from members of the board? Yes, ma'am. Mr. LeBouf.
Do you want to read the last, and that schools are urged?
That's part. Okay. And as the schools are urged to observe this proclamation through appropriate activities which focus on this year's theme of the Black family, representation, identity, diversity, and assist all students in gaining a greater understanding of the contribution which Americans have made and continue to make towards improving society.
If there's no other comments, I'll call for the vote.
Seven for, none against.
Motion carries. 4.2, discussion or action concerning Resolution 2-22, 2026, National Teen Dating Violence Awareness. Mr. Lechley?
Thank you, Mr. President. I make a motion that the board approves Resolution 02-022-2026 National Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Aguilar. Do we have any public comments from the audience concerning this motion? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, and thank you, Superintendent Trustclair, Mr. Lochley, and members of the board for proclaiming February Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month. My name is Roxanne Martin, and I'm a teacher in this parish. As I've stated in the past, in 2017, I went from being a victim of nearly 30 years of domestic violence to becoming a survivor of domestic violence. Unfortunately, the violence against my daughter and I did not end with that. My ex-husband has 7 felonies and 15 misdemeanors against him once I left. As of today, he is still wearing an ankle monitoring device. I have a lifetime protective order against him. As a child, my ex-husband witnessed and experienced domestic violence within their home, so the issue of domestic violence remains very personal to me. I am here today representing Voices of Acadiana, an organization within Faith House of Acadiana and the Family Justice Center of Acadiana. Voices of Acadiana advocates for victims of domestic violence by actively working towards systems change, domestic violence education and awareness, and survivor outreach in order to break the generational cycle of abuse in families. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention defines teen dating violence as an adverse childhood experience that affects millions of young people in the United States. Dating violence can take place in person, online, or through various types of technology. It is a type of intimate partner violence that can include physical violence, sexual violence, psychological aggression, and or stalking. Nearly 1 in 11 females and approximately 1 in 14 male high school students report having experienced physical dating violence in the last year. About 1 in 8 females and 1 in 26 male high school students report having experienced sexual dating violence in the last year. Unhealthy, abusive, or violent relationships can have short and long-term negative effects on a developing teen. For example, youth who are victims of teen dating violence are more likely to experience symptoms of depression and anxiety, engage in unhealthy behaviors like using tobacco, drugs, and alcohol, exhibit antisocial behaviors like lying, theft, bullying, or hitting, and or thinking about suicide. Violence in an adolescent relationship sets the stage for problems in future relationships, including intimate partner violence and sexual violence perpetration and or victimization throughout life. Excuse me. We ask the leaders of the Lafayette Parish School Board and the citizens of Lafayette Parish to wear orange on Thursdays in February to bring awareness to the issue of teen dating violence. We also invite you to join the numerous activities during the month of February and create a network of support for survivors. Please visit Faith House's website for more information. Together we can make a difference and save the lives of those experience abuse in their lives, especially our students, because they deserve it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for your service to our system. Any other public comment? Any board comment? Yes, sir,
Mr. President, if I could read the resolution. And Ms. Martin, thank you. And thank you for reaching out to me as often as you do on things of this nature. I'll say it. I always do say it when we have a resolution that I help sponsor. All of us up here as elected officials are given a platform, and we should use that platform for as much positive and awareness as we can. And I appreciate Ms. Martin once again reaching out to me. But the resolution reads, whereas Voices of Acadiana supports National Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month 2022 to bring attention to and advocate for teen victims of domestic violence. Whereas Voices of Acadiana wants to take a stand and remind our local communities that the 26% of women and 15% of men who were victims of contact sexual violence, physical violence, and are stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime first experienced these or other forms of violence by that partner before age 18. Whereas Voices of Acadiana in our community shall not stop until society has zero tolerance for domestic violence and until all victims and survivors can be heard. Therefore, be it duly resolved that the Lafayette Parish School Board does hereby designate the month of February as National Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month 2022. Thank you.
Any other comments from members of the board? Yes, ma'am, Ms. LeBou.
I know Women's Foundation has a wonderful program on this, and I know that they're willing to come into the school. So if we're ever interested in partnering with them, they do have an entire program that makes teens aware of the signs of domestic or dating abuse, I should say, and you know, just setting boundaries, respect for themselves, respect for others, and I just think it's a good program. So just wanted to mention it here.
Any other board comment? If not, I'll call for the vote.
Seven for, none against.
All right, motion carries. Discussion or action concerning Resolution 2-22-24, National School Counseling Week.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that the board approve Resolution 02022-2024, National School Counseling Week as attached. And I also would like to read the resolution.
Can I get a second? Second, Mr. Latchley. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Morrison.
Okay, National School Counseling Week. Whereas the American School Counselor Association sponsors the National School Counseling Week to focus public attention on the unique contribution of professional school counselors within all school systems. And whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development, and whereas the school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children, and whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves, and whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society. And whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Therefore, be it duly resolved that the Lafayette Parish School Board does hereby designate the week of February 7th through the 11th, 2022 as National School Counseling Week.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Do we have any public comment on this item? Any other comments from members of the board?
I just wanted to say, being an academic counselor myself, and as I read this, it goes in K through 12, community colleges, universities, because it's exactly what we do on a day-to-day basis. And I congratulate all counselors. I know I've taught for 10 years, but I've been counseling for 7. I really enjoyed counseling students because you get different types of students and helping them with their challenging classes to take and creating a pathway for success. And it's just as rewarding as being a teacher. So I salute all counselors and all teachers and all educators, and we thank you for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. If there are no other comments, I'll call for the vote.
Seven for, none against.
Motion carries. We'll move on to 4.8, discussion or action concerning revisions to the custodian and child nutrition services technician job description.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion that the board approves the revisions to the custodian job description as attached to the public content section of this agenda item.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
This is an amended motion.
Sir?
This is an amended motion from what was on the
Would you
agenda
please
item.
read it again, your motion?
That the board approves the revision to the custodian job description as attached to the public content section of this agenda item. Child nutrition service technician has been removed.
I'll second it for
For staff.
discussion, yeah.
Okay, second by Ms. Lebu. Any comments from the audience on this item? Comments from the board members? Dr. Aguilar?
Yes, thank you. Either Ms. Gardner or Superintendent Trosclair, can you enlighten us on the need to change these job descriptions to drop the requirement of a GED or diploma in place of the ability to read as measured by a test?
Mr. Mouton?
Dr. Aguilar, can you repeat that question one more time, please, sir?
Yes, and just in general terms, I'd like to understand why are we having trouble finding custodians or child nutrition workers because they do not possess a GED or a diploma?
Yes, sir. We're having an issue.
Can you give us some numbers, some order of magnitude?
The last time I checked, cafeteria workers, we were somewhere between 45 to 50 positions short. Custodians, there are numerous custodial openings. There is a process that we must go through, as you know, in order to hire our custodians, and we are by no means trying to lessen what we're looking for, but we are opening things up to make it easier to bring in people. And a lot of times we're running into issues where our custodians who we hire, our people who we hire, may not be able to produce those necessary documents. They may not be able to produce a high school diploma at the time. They may not be able to produce those things. So the job description has always had that reading test option. It's just that it was a very specific test that we no longer do. It was the 10th grade TABE test. So we're changing that portion from the 10th grade TABE to a Lafayette Parish reading test.
Okay, may I suggest that maybe we reach out to VITA
Okay.
here in
Yes, sir.
Lafayette? Volunteer instructors teaching adults. I'm pretty
Yes, sir.
sure they would be anxious to work with the Lafayette Parish School System to provide maybe some classes
Yes, sir.
so that this group of employees could ultimately receive that GED.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mouton,
Yes,
for
sir.
clarification, our job description aligns with state statute and requirements,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have any other comments? Ms. LeBou?
Just so I'm clear, the reading test we're administering is it is a reading test we've done in the past, or we're reinventing a new test for
The test that
purposes?
we've done in the past is no longer a test that's used.
Okay.
Correct.
So we've created our own.
Correct.
Okay. And also SLCC has a great adult education program. We should also
Yes, we
contact them
also-
as well. Wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful school.
Yeah, we have a GED program at SLCC, and it's pretty successful. If they want to just kind of start, they could go even at their own pace. So we could encourage them to enroll in that, so they could obtain at least a GED. I had a question about the test, the Lafayette Parish School Board test that will be given. Is it like grade level specific? Like if you've completed the 8th grade, you should be able to pass it, or the 10th
It is
grade?
comprehension specific, meaning the point of the test is to make sure you comprehend what you have read.
Okay.
Many times in the custodian job duties, there are certain chemicals that you cannot mix. There are certain things that you must not do. So we must be able to prove that you can understand what you read, so that if in certain situations and directives are given to read or whatnot, we must have evidence that you comprehend what you read.
And that's the only test that's given?
Yes, ma'am.
Only the reading test?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Mason?
Thank you. This may be a budget question instead of a job description question, but I'm noticing that the Child Nutrition Services Tech has a pay grade of 2, while the custodian has a pay grade of 1. What's the difference between those grades?
Most of the time, there is a difference between, of course, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. There is a difference, but our cafeteria techs do not work 244 days a year as our custodians do.
Right.
So-
I see that they only have 180, and then
Yes,
our
ma'am.
custodians have 244. But I was just curious, is there a monetary value between the two grades?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I can pull the salary schedule and look at that, but that's where we would find it. It's there's a monetary difference. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Angel, I
Yes,
have one
yes,
more
Dr.
question.
Aguilar.
Mr. Mouton, we're
Yes,
not
sir.
leaving these positions vacant because they do not have the credential. Is that correct?
No, sir. We're doing everything we can to fill these positions.
So you're filling the position even though they cannot demonstrate possession of a GED?
Not necessarily.
Sometimes?
Well, what has happened is we hire people, but sometimes it does delay them being hired. And we can hire as subs, but when we go into permanent hiring, we need to make sure that we have all that documentation. And there's another portion that also we are, as a department, we have to make sure we have that documentation to prove that we are in fact hiring the right people, hiring qualified people.
It would strike me as an educational institution, we
Yes,
would
sir.
be doing everything we can to ensure that our employees, all employees, have basic skills.
Yes, sir. And that is part of that test. We are, yes, sir.
A question.
Yes, ma'am.
Mary?
I was thinking about like the mathematical equations. Would they have to like put one part solution to another part, and just basic? They just need to know basic math, or that's
Mr. Boardlaw?
No, okay. Thank you.
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
LeBou?
My question actually is for Mr. Latchley. Is there a reason why we're excluding other job, are we reworking these other job descriptions? So this is a, they
Yes,
will
ma'am.
come up again?
It will come up again.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, I call for the vote.
I thought we had a substitute motion. I thought we had a substitute motion.
No, I think Mr. Latchley made a motion.
I made the motion. It wasn't the same one on the agenda.
It's not.
7-4, none against.
Motion carries. 4.18, discussion or action concerning updates and amendments to the sale of 113 Chaplin Drive. The chair will entertain a motion as such. Motion by Dr. Chasson, second by Mr. Latchley. Any comments from members of the board? I'm sorry, members of the audience. Members of the board, Dr. Chasson?
Yes, sir. Quick question, whoever can answer it. Any idea when this is going to closing?
We're shooting for, I believe, April. We have to drill the test well.
Okay.
And then we have to redo the phase one because the phase one environmental has expired, and to make sure we met the requirements of the cleanup that we needed to do.
Can we set the closing for after the first board meeting in April? Would that be possible? I just don't want to write an open check for us to figure out that it'll cost us all the possible money, even though it'll be in escrow. I understand, but I still want to have an idea what it may cost. Now, I know this may go past the closing, correct? The environmental study and everything, but I just.
The environmental study is already done. We know what the issue is.
So we only have one?
Yeah, there's only one.
Okay. Well, there's no way it's going to be ongoing. I'll ask the question. You guys have a possible cost in theory, possibly?
We think, I mean, it depends on the mitigation
Right.
efforts. It may be as low as $2,000, or it
Correct.
may be as high as $320.
Right.
And because you just don't know, and I've learned a lot about environmental in these last few weeks. So it's a part per billion basically, and we're the acceptable is 7. We're at
Right.
11.7. It's not very high.
So we're not that far off?
We're not that far off.
Okay.
So if it does clear up itself, which we will hope it was, we have to have 4 clean tests, which is twice a year. So basically in 2 years, if we get 4 tests that are below the rate, we pull the well, we get the money back.
Okay.
That's what we're hoping happens. However, if it doesn't clear up in years to come, we might have to inject chemicals. We don't think that's going to be an issue, but the airport wanted to guard on the side of caution as well as we would have done in any property we would buy with an environmental issue. They want the money in escrow, and there is a process, to use that money for any kind of mitigation. But we really think it's going to be not that expensive, but
Very
they
minimal.
wanted a guarantee, like we would have asked, and
Right.
we did negotiate that amount down in a 2.5 hour negotiation. with
Can,
the judges.
can we get an update in March, and can we get an update in April, if possible?
Update on what?
An update on the actual mitigation measures as far as if
Well-
we're getting close or not? Or will the mitigation measures not start by March
No,
or April?
so they won't test it again for 6 months, and then hopefully we'll see it start to decline. So there's no really mitigation. We're just hoping it kind of dissolves on its own over time, which is what we think will happen.
Okay.
And we wouldn't have to spend any money than the test, and I believe the test is less than $2,000 a year for both of them. So we're hoping that's all that has to happen and goes away on itself. We pull the well and we're good. So that's we won't know anything for probably a couple of years.
Okay.
Ms. LeBou?
That was gonna be my question. So they asked for more than the 320. We negotiated down to this number, but they're the ones that initially did the initial request, correct?
Correct, and we sat with our environmental engineers on both sides and discussed a list of things that could go wrong, and then possible cost of what could go wrong, and that's how we brought them down to the 320.
Did they have a list that we were able to, or did they come in with a number that was correlated to a list as well?
They had a number that was correlated to the list, and we discussed the list and talked them into a lower list.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Chaplin?
Yeah. So Matt, the concern, because I was speaking with the superintendent about it, my concern is thinking back to the Truman purchase. Any possible environmental issues would have been, I know none popped up, but they would have been on us per the individuals. We could have went back and told them, well, no, you guys got to fix it. But that's what we were concerned about initially, why we didn't want to purchase it, because in environmental issues, they wanted it in the contract language that we were responsible and we were the buyer. And in this situation, we're the seller. And in both situations, we're responsible. That was my
No,
only
on the
concern.
Truman issue, we do a phase one on anything we purchase, and Dr. Aguilar may remember, we did a phase one on a potential site for Prairie that had an issue, and we pulled out of the sale at that point, because we didn't want to, there was not, didn't want to accept it, and it was people rather than a governmental institution, so it's harder to go back on something like that. So we decided at that point to pull the property that we were looking at Prairie and bought the current site where Prairie is. On the Truman, we did a phase one and it came out clean.
Okay.
So it was not a discussion. If it would not have come out clean, we would have come back to the board, we would have described what we found, and we would have asked the owner to absorb that or not buy the property. That would have come to you at that point. It didn't. What we're doing right now is called a NEPA, and it's only because we're using federal funds to build the school. And it isn't an environment as so much as pollution, but an environment from the community, if we were trying to build an incinerator or if we were trying to do something like that. I mean, it's a pre-K, it's a very nice thing I think the community loves, but we still have to go through the process.
Right.
But the NEPA is meant more from an environmental aspect of the community, not pollutive environmental. It's the same word, but it's a different aspect of it.
I understand, and this will be my last statement on it, but that conversation may have evolved into what you said, but the original conversation, because me and the superintendent, we went back and forth on it, they wanted us to be responsible for it. And so if that conversation evolved and then they were gonna be responsible, I wouldn't have even stopped it. I'd have just let it go into global, but they wanted us to pay for it, so we were the buyer. And I was like, I don't like that language.
Right.
Well, then, in this situation, we're the seller and we're responsible. So that was my question.
Yeah,
I'm
we
good.
wouldn't have brought that to you. I mean, we would have probably rejected it as we did with the property on,
For
that we
Prairie?
dealt with for Prairie.
Okay.
Do we have any other comments from members of the board? If not, I'll call for the vote.
Dr. Chasson, can you confirm that could you confirm the motion on the screen?
Matt, can I ask? Yeah, who's hiring? Us or them when you have to do any remediation work? Yeah,
We hire the person, but the money comes out of the escrow.
that's what, thank you. I'm sorry, Mr.
President Orgel, I think what they're asking is that the motion be read, that the board authorizes the superintendent board president to execute related legal documents necessary to complete the sale and lease of 113 Chaplin Drive, central office.
No, the motion's been read. It's time to vote.
Motion to approve the board authorize the superintendent and board president to execute related legal documents necessary to complete the sale and lease of 113 Chaplin Drive, central office, period.
Close parentheses.
Exclamation mark.
Please vote. Motion carries. That's the last item on our agenda. I want to thank all of you, members of the audience, for attending our meeting. I also want to thank my fellow board members for being seated and ready to go at 5:30. We started on time. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.